Okay, so TikTok, you and me have got to have a discussion. Last week you deleted it, then. Please don't do that. I'm trying to make a good video here. We're going to talk about marine reptiles that used to crunch up things like nutcrackers. Yeah? It's an interesting topic. Don't delete this then. Okay? Good. Let's crack on with it. How are we doing, everybody? It's your Mosasaur, Prince Steel, Tethyosaurus Yorkshire, and if you actually saw earlier in the week, I made an announcement that a couple of my friends are actually putting together a new rock and fossil show. It's the Sheffield Rock and Fossil Show. It's going to be occurring April 25th. It's going to be from 10 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and it's going to be at the Sheffield Trades and Labour Club. So, if you don't know where that is, it's the Sheffield Trades and Labour Club. It's not too far from bus route, and it's not too far from the Sheffield train station. So if you've got a chance, either share it with someone who loves fossils and rocks, or if you love fossils and rocks yourself, get yourself there because it's going to be great. Unfortunately, I'm not attending the show because I have a prior obligation that I've got to do. But hopefully, if they do more shows, I will definitely be attending them. But anyways, let's crack on with the video. So we're going to tackle the common names of the Carinodensini. Now, that's probably not a formal. I know it's not formal. Why am I talking about? Why am I always speculating? Yeah, Carinodensini. It's not a formal designation for this sort of cluster of mosasaurs. I'm probably not the first one to use it, so I'm going to use it here. But hopefully, it becomes a proper term. But we'll see. But anyways, Carinodensini. So we're going to get on with the first Carinodens, which is little nutcracker fella. We're going to get on with Carinodens palestinicus from the Maastrichtian of Jordan. About 2 or 3 meters in length. Carinodens typically are about that size. There's a couple of species that get, bigger than that, but we'll get into them later. Now, Carinodens palestinicus has an awesome cross section of a skull. They actually found really cool. If you haven't seen that, go and look it up. It's really cool. It gives some amazing anatomy of this particular mosasaur that we find very little of. So for the common name of this animal, because it's obviously localized within the Middle Eastern area, I'm going to call it the Middle Eastern dwarf crusher lizard. Now, dwarf crusher lizard, I'm trying to basically distinguish it from the giant crusher lizard, which is Globidens. Now, this, like I said earlier, in the other video, the Carinodens and the Carinodensini are a bit all over the place with phylogenetics. Carinodens could be the same, so, that sort of broad term name, dwarf crusher lizard, it'll expand to all of them, even if they aren't in the same genus or different species, what have you. So, yeah, Middle Eastern dwarf crusher lizard. Happy with that? I know I am. Okay, so Carinodens belgicus, which is actually, I believe that's the type species, or it's the most well-studied species of Carinodens. It's from the Upper Maastrichtian of various places. It's actually got a wide distribution from Europe to the USA, and also is found in Morocco, but those finds are at the moment contested, whether they are actually belgicus, but more discoveries could actually prove that they are actually belgicus. Now, this animal's around about the same size as palestinicus, about 2 to 3 meters in length. Now, because it's got a wide distribution, and well, even if the Moroccan specimens aren't belgicus, we have evidence of them in the USA and Europe, so it's got a wide distribution, so that means it was probably more common. So therefore I'm calling it the common dwarf crusher lizard. Easy with that one, very easy. Also, one of my favourite papers is actually focusing on the feeding mechanics of belgicus, and you can actually see in this paper that the authors actually create a mechanical mosasaur to actually test out the bite strength and feeding capacity of Carinodens belgicus. It's really cool. If you haven't gone and read that paper, please do, because it's really cool, and you just get to see a demonstration of them physically doing Carinodens biting stuff. It's really cool, that. Really cool. I want one for my Christmas crackers. Yeah. Alright, so we've got Carinodens minimalnar from the Upper Maastrichtian of the Moroccan phosphates in Morocco. So, yeah, pretty obvious where that is, guys. Possibly expanding it to maybe Angola, but again, the material is a bit contested there. Minimalnar differentiates from other species by having, well, differently shaped teeth, really, and a differently shaped jaw. So, up to 2 or 3 meters, maybe, so standardized for Carinodens. But, so, how I mentioned that we've got a possible occurrence of this animal in Angola, so I've decided to go with the common name of this animal and call it the North African dwarf crusher lizard, because if those specimens in Angola are verifiably minimalnar, then absolutely this name applies. If it is localized to Morocco, it still applies, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's kind of the first African Carinodens that I'm aware of, so if you don't like that name, I don't know what to tell you. We got the new kid on the block, Carinodens acrodon, which was named very recently. It's actually from the same deposit and same age as Carinodens minimalma and some Belgica specimens. What's different about this animal is the teeth are generally taller. They seem to be a bit more hooked, in my opinion, as well. Whether that recurve meant that they were hooking into prey, I'm not entirely sure. I think I actually speculated in a previous video that it was feeding differently based on those teeth, and that's probably what was going on. And another difference is that for some reason acrodon is more basal, or comes from a more basal lineage of Carinodens, but it's larger. It could be up to maybe 3 meters. In fact, I think some specimens have been estimated to be bigger than 4 meters, so maybe 4.5 meters. That's big. That's approaching globidens size. That's a big Carinodens, big nutcracker. Now, because of the teeth, particularly, and the sort of tall hook-like nature of them, I've gone for hooked tooth dwarf crusher lizard. I don't know why I did it like that, but yeah, hooked tooth dwarf crusher lizard. How it fared compared to Belgicus and minimalma, that's up for debate really, and up for maybe more nutcracker physical mosasaur mechanics. Ooh, that's exciting stuff. Seriously, go read that paper. But yeah, anyways, hooked tooth dwarf crusher lizard, awesome. And our final Carinodensini, possibly. So this mosasaur's had a lot of controversy around it. It's Xenodens. This is our good old friend Xenodens, the possible Nanotyrannus of mosasaurs, but it turns out it's actually real, which I always thought it was real. I just thought that the paper saying it was fake was not very good. Anyways, excuse me, I seem to have been cursed by the authors there. But anyways, Xenodens. So Xenodens is from the upper Maastrichtian of the Moroccan phosphate, so we share an environment with Carinodens acrodon, minimalma, and some Belgicus, and also a whole host of other mosasaurs. A whole host. I've done a video on it previously, go back and watch it. Xenodens is a very small mosasaur, very, very small. It's possibly only about 2 meters in length, and characteristically has these sort of really weird, almost Carinodens looking teeth that they are, rather than robust, they are smooth and very blade-like. They basically look like shark's teeth, and possibly like isolated ones have been mistaken for shark's teeth, which wouldn't surprise me. The reason I'm a bit hesitant with it being in Carinodensini is because recently it looks like it actually might be maybe possibly grouping with Cladastes, which is weird, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So I'm going to keep it with Carinodens for the time being, because that seemed where it recovered in its initial descriptive paper. You know, recovered with Carinodens, so it might be Carinodensini, but who knows at this point. We need more specimens. That's always the answer in paleontology. We need more specimens. So the common name for this animal, really, really easy actually with this one, because it is such a unique mosasaur and marine reptile overall. I've gone for saw-toothed lizard. Now, yeah, I'm borrowing that from saw-tooth sharks. But sawtooth lizard, that works. It's really self-explanatory. In fact, I'd love a Xenodens as a hacksaw in my DIY kit. I think it'd be really, really cool and just really useful. Apart from the fact it probably saw my arm off, you know. That's hurting, I should probably stop. But anyways, yeah, saw-toothed lizard. Yep, happy with that. But yeah, that's the Carinodensini done, and we're going to really get into the meat and potatoes of the Mosasaurini next. We've got the Prognathodontini and the Mosasaurini to get into. Those two are very meaty. Very, very meaty. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, guys, hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you later. Ta-da. Bye.